Eli Morgan had always thought he understood space. As a human researcher stationed on Orpheus Station, orbiting the purple-hued gas giant of the Zalaris system, he had witnessed wonders that would make ordinary people tremble. Yet nothing had prepared him for the summons he received that morning. The message was terse. "Report to the Empress's chambers immediately. Do not speak of your visit." Even after months aboard the station, Eli's pulse quickened. Alien politics were notoriously opaque, and the very mention of the Empress Zyra sent shivers down the spines of diplomats and soldiers alike. She was not only the ruler of her people, the Xylarans, but a figure shrouded in myths. Some said she could see the thoughts of any being. Others claimed her knowledge of the cosmos allowed her to bend events to her will. Most humans preferred to stay far from her influence, but Eli had no choice. He dressed carefully, checking his uniform for any sign of the subtle contamination alarms that marked human arrivals on restricted alien grounds. The corridors of Orpheus Station were dimly lit, with walls of a translucent material that shimmered as if alive. A soft hum filled the air, vibrating through the floor and into Eli's chest. He often wondered whether the hum was a feature of the station's architecture or a living organism that shared the space with him. Today, it made him uneasy. When he reached the chamber doors, his hand trembled slightly as he activated the access panel. The doors slid open silently, revealing a room unlike any human habitat. The walls were a flowing spectrum of colors, as if a living aurora had been captured and suspended. Strange plants lined the edges of the room, their bioluminescent leaves pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Eli stepped inside, his senses immediately alert. At the center of the room stood Empress Zyra. She was taller than most humans, with limbs elongated in a way that seemed elegant rather than alien. Her skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the ambient lights of her room. She wore a robe that seemed woven from strands of light itself, shifting in hue and texture as she moved. Her eyes, deep and bright, held a wisdom that felt almost unbearable. "You're here," she said softly, her voice like a melody that vibrated directly inside Eli's mind. "Do you understand why you are here?" Eli swallowed hard. I was told to report here, Empress, that's all." Zyra's eyes narrowed slightly, though her lips curved in a hint of a smile. "Indeed, but now that you are here, you must see something few humans ever witness, something that could change your understanding of the universe. But you must promise me you will not speak of it to anyone, not a single soul." Eli felt a shiver run down his spine. The very air seemed charged with a presence he could not name. I understand, Empress," he said cautiously. She gestured for him to follow, leading him past the glowing plants and toward a platform in the center of the room. As he approached, Eli noticed that the floor beneath his feet was not solid in the usual sense. It seemed to ripple slightly, like water disturbed by the wind. His reflection appeared distorted, stretched, and bending unnaturally. "This room," Zyra began, "is not just a chamber. It is a nexus, a place where thoughts, memories, and the very structure of reality can be observed, manipulated, and combined." Eli's eyebrows rose. "Combined?" he asked. The Empress turned, her gaze piercing him. "Yes, human. My people have reached the limits of our own evolution. We have long sought a way to ensure our survival beyond what our biology allows. You humans, you are unbound by many constraints we have, and that makes you intriguing." Before Eli could respond, a holographic display materialized in the air. Stars, planets, and entire galaxies spun slowly, suspended in the room. Lines of light connected them like an intricate web, highlighting certain paths and intersections. Eli realized with awe that this was not just a display. It was a living map of cosmic events, reacting in real time to Zyra's movements. "You see," Zyra continued, "our species has knowledge, power, and longevity, but we lack certain qualities that humans possess naturally: adaptability, creativity, and empathy in unpredictable ways. You think in ways that are not easily mapped, not easily anticipated. That makes you valuable." Eli felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. He had read about the Xylarans' fascination with humans, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. "You want to study us?" he asked. Zyra shook her head. "Not merely study. Perhaps one day integrate." She let the word hang in the air, heavy and incomprehensible. Eli could feel its weight pressing down on him. He wanted to ask more, but the Empress raised a hand. "Patience. First, you must understand the room. It is alive. It listens. It responds." It learns, your presence here has already begun to alter its patterns. Humans have a peculiar effect on such systems. Eli's heart pounded. He had been trained for hazardous situations, for emergencies on alien stations, but this was beyond training. He felt like a child in the presence of a god. "Do you ever feel afraid, human?" Zyra asked suddenly, stepping closer. Her robe shimmered brighter as if reacting to the tension in the air. Eli swallowed. "Yes, Empress, I've never been in a place like this. I don't know what I'm supposed to do." Zyra's expression softened, though her eyes remained intense. "Fear is natural, but fear can also teach you. Observe, learn, adapt. That is what makes humans remarkable." She moved toward a console, and Eli followed. As she touched the surface, data appeared, complex equations, diagrams of neural pathways, and unfamiliar symbols that pulsed in rhythm with the room. Eli recognized some patterns, and others he could not even begin to comprehend. Yet the intuitive human part of his mind began to notice anomalies, sequences that did not follow the usual rules. "You see," Zyra said, "humans notice the unusual. You question, you hypothesize, you improvise. That is why I have summoned you. Not for your strength, not for your knowledge of technology, but for the qualities that are uniquely human. And you must understand, this is a secret. If the Council discovered my intentions, they would destroy me, and perhaps you along with me." Eli felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He had known politics among humans could be treacherous, but interstellar alien politics, that was a game with no rules, only consequences. I will keep your secret, Empress," he said quietly. Zyra's eyes gleamed. "Good. There is more to see and more to understand, but it will take time. For now, simply observe. Learn the rhythms of the room, the patterns of the stars, the subtle movements of light and thought." Hours passed. Eli felt as if he had been transported into another dimension. He saw connections between stars and planets, hints of civilizations he could not name, and glimpses of events centuries into the future. The room responded to his presence, shifting subtly as he moved, almost as if it were testing him, learning him, integrating him. At one point, Eli paused before a projection of a distant planet. A small city shimmered on its surface, its inhabitants moving in ways both familiar and alien. He recognized patterns of behavior, trade, and governance, yet something was different. The humans in him noticed anomalies, creative solutions, improvisations, unexpected acts of kindness or rebellion. He felt a strange kinship, a spark of understanding that transcended species. "You are seeing the subtle threads of life," Zyra whispered. "Most beings notice only the surface. Humans notice the underlying currents. That is why you are here." Eli wanted to speak, to ask 100 questions, but Zyra raised a hand. "Patience, human. There will be time for questions. Now you simply observe and you simply learn. The universe is far larger and stranger than you imagine, and your presence here may tip the balance in ways neither of us can fully predict." By the time Eli finally left the chamber, he felt both exhilarated and terrified. The corridor felt different, the hum of the station deeper, as if it had absorbed part of what he had witnessed. He could not shake the thought that he had glimpsed something that might never be revealed to any other human. For days afterward, Eli replayed the experience in his mind. The room, the Empress, the living nexus of light and thought, it haunted him. He realized that he was no longer just a researcher. He had become part of something larger, something that might redefine humanity's role in the cosmos. And yet, a warning echoed in his mind: don't tell anyone, not a single soul. Eli understood the stakes. Secrets like these were dangerous. If mishandled, they could lead to conflict, betrayal, or even the annihilation of entire civilizations. And somewhere deep inside, he felt the stirrings of something unexpected, a sense of purpose, a recognition that humanity, underestimated though it was, might possess qualities that could alter the very fabric of interstellar existence. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and perils, and for the first time, Eli felt both the weight and the thrill of knowing that humanity might have a place among them. A place not granted by power or dominance, but by creativity, resilience, and the ability to see the unseen. And somewhere in the shadowed corridors of Orpheus Station, the Empress Zyra watched and waited, her secret safe, her plans unfolding, and her understanding of humanity beginning to shift in ways she could not yet fully comprehend. Days passed, yet Eli Morgan could not forget what he had seen in Empress Zyra's chamber. Every time he walked the corridors of Orpheus Station, The soft hum of the walls reminded him of the living room, the nexus of light and thought that had revealed secrets no human had ever witnessed. He told himself it was just a memory, but deep down, he knew it was more than that. It was a responsibility, a secret of cosmic proportions and one he had promised to keep. His work on the station continued, yet everything felt different. When he spoke with other humans, they seemed oblivious to the greater realities of the universe. Their discussions of research protocols and supply schedules seemed trivial now. He had glimpsed the true scale of knowledge, of life, of possibility. And more than that, he had seen the Empress herself, not as a ruler, not as an alien legend, but as a being searching desperately for survival, for understanding, for connection. The next summons came unexpectedly. Eli had barely settled at his workstation when the comm device buzzed. The message was simple. "Return to the Empress. She requires your presence. Immediate." There was no explanation, no pretext, only urgency. Eli felt a strange thrill. He had thought his first encounter had been extraordinary, but now he realized it was only the beginning. As he made his way through the station, Eli noticed subtle changes. Security drones moved in patterns he had never seen, their sensors scanning more than usual. The hum of the station seemed sharper, more focused, as if it were aware of his movements. He wondered if the Empress's chamber, the living nexus, had somehow extended its perception beyond the walls. The doors slid open, and Zyra waited for him. She looked different this time, more intense, more urgent. Her eyes glimmered as if reflecting distant stars, and the robe of liquid light she wore shimmered with a rhythm that seemed tied to her thoughts. She did not speak immediately. Instead, she gestured for Eli to follow her deeper into the chamber. "This time," she said finally, her voice low and commanding, "you will see more than before. The universe is not static, human. It flows, shifts, and reacts to forces both known and hidden. I need you to understand what is at stake." Eli followed, trying to steady his racing heart. He had already seen things that challenged every principle of human understanding, yet he trusted Zyra. Somehow he felt that whatever she showed him next, it would be crucial not just for her people, but for humanity itself. The chamber shifted as they moved. The walls' colors became deeper, the pulsing veins of light faster, responding to an unseen rhythm. Holographic stars spun in faster arcs, and Eli noticed faint threads connecting them, as though invisible hands were drawing lines between distant points. He realized with growing awe that the chamber was alive, aware, and that it reacted not just to Zyra, but to him as well. "Look closely," Zyra said. "These lines, these connections, they represent paths of civilizations. Some thrive, some fail, some never even begin. Each decision, each act creates ripples. And you, human, have qualities that create the most unpredictable ripples of all." Eli's mind raced. "You mean humans could change the fate of entire worlds?" he asked cautiously. Zyra's gaze sharpened. "Yes, your species is underestimated. That is precisely why you are valuable. Your adaptability, your creativity, your intuition, they are unpredictable. You do not always follow logic as we understand it, yet you find solutions where none seem possible. That is a strength we lack." Eli felt a mixture of pride and fear. He had always known humans were clever, but he had never imagined that cleverness could matter on such a scale. And yet the warning in Zyra's first words still echoed. If anyone discovers this, the consequences would be catastrophic. Zyra guided him to a corner of the chamber he had not seen before. A structure floated in midair, a lattice of crystalline light that pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. "This," she said, "is the core of integration. It is here that we attempt the impossible, to merge consciousness, to share understanding across species. We are close to the limits of our biology. Without a species like yours, we may fail entirely." Eli's mind spun. "Merge consciousness? You mean like think together, feel together?" The Empress nodded. "Precisely, but it is dangerous. To merge too quickly or with incompatible thought patterns can destroy both minds. That is why I need you. Humans are flexible. You can adapt to foreign neural patterns in ways our species cannot." He swallowed hard. The weight of responsibility pressed on him. If he agreed, he could alter the course of her civilization. He could become part of something no human had ever dreamed. And yet the risks were immense. One misstep and he might lose his own mind, or worse. Zyra seemed to sense his hesitation. "Fear is natural. It is also instructive. But remember, human, this is not merely for my people. Your species is at a turning point. Your understanding, your actions, may shape not just the Xylarans but the future of humanity among the stars. That is why I have chosen you." Eli nodded, uncertain yet compelled. There was something about Zyra's presence, the living chamber, the sense of possibility. It called to him, demanded his involvement. He realized that he had already crossed a line. There was no turning back. The Empress extended her hand. A spark of energy leapt from her fingers, connecting with his mind. Suddenly, Eli felt a flood of sensations, not entirely his own. Thoughts raced, visions flashed, and he saw moments of Xylaran history, choices made by leaders long dead, and the consequences of decisions spread across centuries. The experience was overwhelming, yet within it, he felt a strange clarity. "This is only a fragment," Zyra said, her voice inside his mind. "It is enough for you to understand the stakes, to see why humanity is essential. Watch and learn. Observe the flow of decisions, the paths of life, and the moments that could change everything." Eli's human mind tried to comprehend the vastness of what he saw. Civilizations rose and fell in moments. Entire planets teetered on the brink of disaster or prosperity, depending on a single choice. And within the chaos, he noticed patterns that only a human could perceive. Improvisation, ingenuity, compassion, rebellion. Those moments of unpredictability, the spark of humanity, could tip outcomes in ways no alien logic could anticipate. He realized, with a mix of awe and determination, that humans were not merely participants in the cosmos. They were agents of change, capable of affecting outcomes in subtle yet profound ways. Hours passed, though time itself seemed fluid. The chamber pulsed with light and energy, reacting to every movement, every thought. Eli felt both exhausted and exhilarated. His mind had been stretched beyond its limits, yet he understood something vital. The galaxy was a web of interactions, and humans were threads that could weave outcomes no other species could. Zyra guided him back to the center of the room. "You see now why I chose you, human. You are not merely a subject of observation. You are a potential partner, a key to survival for my people and perhaps for yours. But remember, this knowledge is dangerous. It must never leave this room." Eli nodded, understanding fully the weight of her words. He could not speak of what he had witnessed. He could not share the visions, the understanding, the truth of human potential in the eyes of the Xylarans. Yet inside, a sense of pride and purpose stirred. He had glimpsed the role humanity could play in the cosmos, and he would not waste it. As he left the chamber, the hum of the station seemed different. It was alive in a new way, aware of his presence, responding to his thoughts, and perhaps in some small way acknowledging him as a participant in something far greater than himself. Over the following days, Eli noticed subtle changes in Zyra's behavior toward him. She shared insights more openly, posed questions that challenged his understanding, and seemed to regard him not merely as a human visitor, but as an equal in intellect and intuition. Each visit deepened his understanding, each interaction tested his ingenuity, and each moment reinforced the realization that humanity's greatest strength lay not in technology or power, but in the unpredictable, creative mind that no alien pattern could fully map. Eli also began to notice tension elsewhere on the station. The council overseeing the Empress's actions grew restless, and whispers of potential betrayal circulated among the Xylaran staff. Rumors hinted at factions who would see the Empress removed if her experiments or alliances with humans were discovered. Eli understood the danger. One misstep, one revealed secret, and the consequences could be catastrophic, not just for Zyra, but for humanity itself. Yet amid the danger, Eli felt a strange thrill. He was no longer a mere observer of the universe. He had become part of its unfolding story. He realized that humans, underestimated as they were, could shape outcomes in ways no other species could. And that realization filled him with both pride and responsibility. One evening, as Eli prepared to leave the chamber, Zyra looked at him with an intensity that made his chest tighten. "Human," she said softly, "you are beginning to see what I see. But remember, knowledge alone is not enough. Understanding must be paired with action. There will come a time when your decisions, your choices, will carry weight beyond your imagining. Prepare yourself, for that time approaches faster than you think." Eli nodded, feeling the truth of her words resonate within him. He did not yet know what the future held, but he understood that he had crossed a threshold. Humanity was no longer merely a distant, primitive species in the eyes of the Xylarans. Humans had potential, unique, unpredictable, invaluable. And Eli, by virtue of being human, was now a witness, a participant, and perhaps even a guardian of that potential. As he stepped back into the corridor, the hum of Orpheus Station felt alive in a new way. It was as if the station itself recognized the significance of what had occurred. Eli walked with a new purpose, understanding that the galaxy held dangers and wonders beyond imagination, and that the fate of multiple civilizations might one day rest, in part, on the ingenuity and resilience of humanity. And somewhere in the quiet of the station, in her chamber alive with light and thought, Zyra watched and waited, aware that her plans were unfolding, aware that she had glimpsed the extraordinary potential of a species she had once underestimated, and aware that the future, fragile, uncertain, and boundless, was beginning to take shape in ways neither human nor Xylaran could yet fully predict. Eli Morgan had begun to understand the rhythm of the Empress's chamber, the flow of light, thought, and energy that seemed alive. Yet nothing could have prepared him for the chaos that erupted one morning. He was in his quarters, reviewing sensor readings from the outer sectors of Orpheus Station, when the alarm sounded, a sharp, piercing klaxon that cut through the usual hum of the station. The message on the comm blinked urgently. Security breach, unauthorized access detected in the Empress's sector. Eli's heart raced. He knew that Zyra's chamber was a place of immense power, a secret that could not be exposed. If anyone discovered her experiments, the consequences would be catastrophic. He grabbed his jacket and sprinted through the corridors, passing maintenance drones and startled staff. The station's atmosphere was tense, electric with the warning signals and the faint trembling hum of its living walls. When he arrived, he found Zyra waiting in the main corridor, her expression calm yet sharp. "Human," she said, her voice low, "they are here. Intruders sent by factions within the council. They seek to destroy everything I have built, and perhaps you as well." Eli's mind raced. The council had always been skeptical of the Empress's methods, but he had never imagined they would resort to direct sabotage. "What do we do?" he asked, scanning the corridor for any immediate threats. Zyra's eyes glimmered with resolve. "We survive, and to survive we must act together. Your ingenuity, human, is our greatest advantage. Follow me and do not falter." She led him through the twisting halls of the station to a secondary chamber, smaller and less conspicuous. The walls here were lined with dormant drones, panels of energy conduits, and tools Eli had never seen before. Zyra gestured toward the drones. "We will need these. Your human intuition will guide their use. Remember, unpredictability is our ally." Eli nodded. He had handled maintenance and repair tasks countless times, but never in a situation like this. Yet instinctively he understood. He began issuing commands, repurposing the drones to act as scouts, defenders, and distractions. They moved with silent precision, responding not to pre-programmed logic but to his adaptive instructions. As the first intruders appeared in the corridor outside, Eli and Zyra observed from a hidden vantage point. The attackers were heavily armed Xylarans, their exoskeleton suits bristling with energy weapons. They moved with confidence, expecting minimal resistance. But Eli had set traps, holographic decoys projected by drones, motion-triggered force fields, and energy pulses that disoriented the invaders. The first wave hesitated, unsure of what was real and what was illusion. Eli's human insight into behavior allowed him to anticipate their reactions. He adjusted the drones, creating new patterns, leading the attackers away from the Empress's chamber. Zyra watched, her eyes widening as she realized the depth of human adaptability. "You humans," she whispered, "your minds are remarkable. You see paths we cannot anticipate, solutions that are invisible to logic alone." Eli kept moving, his mind a whirlwind of calculations and improvisation. He guided the drones to block critical access points, redirect intruders into corridors rigged with energy traps, and create diversions that made it appear as though reinforcements had arrived. Each move relied on intuition, creativity, and rapid adaptation, qualities he had always known humans possessed, but which now revealed themselves in a high-stakes interstellar conflict. The intruders were persistent, however, and the situation escalated. One of the attackers bypassed a force field and breached a side corridor leading closer to Zyra's chamber. Eli reacted instantly, redirecting a drone to intercept. The drone collided with the intruder, immobilizing him with a pulse of electromagnetic energy. Eli grabbed a nearby energy conduit, using it to create a temporary barrier in the path. Zyra moved beside him, her presence both reassuring and commanding. "Do not underestimate them, human," she said. "They are skilled, ruthless, and desperate, but so are we." Eli realized that the Empress had underestimated something too: human resilience under pressure. Unlike her people, who often relied on sheer strength, perfection, or pre-calculated strategies, humans could improvise, adapt, and even thrive in chaos. That adaptability was unpredictable, and in this situation, it was invaluable. As the intruders pressed on, Eli led Zyra through a series of maintenance tunnels that he had memorized from prior inspections. The tunnels were narrow, labyrinthine, and lined with conduits of glowing energy. They provided temporary safety, but Eli knew they could not hold indefinitely. He needed a plan to turn the tide decisively. He paused at a junction, considering his options. Above them, the main corridor hummed with the approaching footsteps of the attackers. Eli's mind raced. He spotted a series of energy nodes along the walls, dormant but connected to the station systems. A thought struck him. If he could trigger them in sequence, he could create a network of defensive barriers and traps that would buy them time and disorient the attackers. "Zyra," he said, "I need access to the control panels. I can use the station's own systems against them, but I'll need you to guide me through the secondary nodes. Together, we can create a network of traps." The Empress nodded. "Do what humans do best. I will support you." Eli moved quickly, tapping into the nodes, rerouting energy flows, and linking drones to the system. The hum of the station intensified as it responded to their commands. He could feel the living architecture reacting to him, learning his methods, adapting in real time. For the first time, he understood the depth of connection between Zyra, the chamber, and the station itself. The attackers entered the junction moments later, unaware of the traps. Energy fields surged around them, drones intercepted, and holographic projections created confusion. The intruders stumbled, disoriented by illusions and unpredictable barriers. Eli adjusted his commands, creating openings for Zyra to advance towards safety while the attackers were caught in a labyrinth of their own expectations. Through it all, Zyra observed him, her eyes filled with awe. "Human," she said, "you are extraordinary. Your species has a resilience, a cleverness, and an unpredictability that we underestimated. Perhaps your kind is exactly what my people need to survive." Eli felt a mix of pride and fear. He had acted instinctively, relying on what humans did best: improvisation under pressure. But he also knew the dangers were far from over. The intruders would regroup, and the Council's reach extended further than he realized. Every moment of success was temporary, and failure could be catastrophic. They reached a secondary chamber, deeper within the station, where Eli had prepared a final line of defense. It was not just a barrier, but a calculated trap designed to exploit the attackers' assumptions. When the intruders arrived, expecting easy access, they were caught in a cascade of energy pulses, disorienting lights, and strategically deployed drones. Eli's improvisation had turned the tide. Zyra moved beside him, her expression unreadable. "You have done what I feared impossible. You have preserved the chamber, preserved my work, and perhaps saved both our species. But tell me, human, did you ever doubt yourself?" Eli shook his head. "No, Empress, not really. I trusted what humans do best. We adapt, we improvise. We survive, and sometimes we surprise even ourselves." Zyra regarded him silently for a moment, then nodded. "Indeed, perhaps I misjudged the value of unpredictability. Perhaps humans are not merely survivors, they are catalysts. And catalysts are dangerous but necessary for change." The intruders had been repelled for now. Eli and Zyra took a moment to catch their breath. The station's hum seemed calmer, as if recognizing the temporary peace. Eli felt a profound sense of accomplishment, tempered by the knowledge that this was only the beginning. The Council would not accept defeat lightly, and the Empress's secret was still at risk. "Human," Zyra said quietly, "you have demonstrated what few Xylarans could. Your species' ingenuity, resilience, and unpredictability, it is remarkable. But know this, our trials are only beginning. There will be greater dangers, challenges that will test not only your mind, but your courage and your loyalty." Eli nodded, understanding the weight of her words. The galaxy was vast, filled with unknown threats, and humanity's role in it was still being defined. Yet he felt a sense of purpose he had never known. He had glimpsed the power of human ingenuity, the ability to shape outcomes in unpredictable ways, and he knew that he had only scratched the surface of what humans could achieve. As they returned to the chamber, Eli could not help but glance at the living nexus. The room pulsed with light, as if acknowledging their efforts. The holographic stars and threads shimmered, reflecting the chaos they had navigated. He realized that the chamber, the Empress, and even the station itself were learning, adapting, and perhaps, in some small way, evolving in response to human presence. Zyra turned to him, her eyes reflecting galaxies. "You see now, human, why I chose you. Your species is underestimated, yet you possess qualities that can alter destinies. Your creativity, your courage, your intuition, these are forces that cannot be calculated, predicted, or controlled. They are human, and they are extraordinary." Eli felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. He understood now that humanity's true power lay not in technology, strength, or numbers, but in the mind. The ability to adapt, improvise, and innovate where others could not. And in the eyes of the Empress, that power had begun to shine, bright and undeniable. For the first time, Eli felt the full weight of his role. He was no longer a mere observer. He was an active participant in events that could shape not just one alien civilization, but perhaps humanity's future among the stars. The challenges ahead would be immense, but for the first time he felt ready. The galaxy awaited, vast and unpredictable. And humanity, underestimated yet brilliant, had begun to prove itself in ways that even the most powerful beings could not ignore. Eli Morgan had never felt pressure like this before. The attack on Orpheus Station had been repelled, but it had only been a temporary victory. Zyra's enemies within the council were regrouping, and the threat of a new strike loomed over the station like a dark cloud. Eli knew that their survival, and perhaps the survival of both humans and Xylarans, depended on their next move. The Empress's chamber was alive, its walls pulsing with a steady rhythm, as if aware of the looming danger. Zyra stood in the center, her eyes reflecting the shifting lights, her posture tense yet commanding. "Human," she said, her voice calm but urgent, "the council will not wait. They will strike again, and this time they will bring their full force. We must act decisively." Eli nodded, feeling a surge of determination. He had learned much from the chamber, from Zyra, and from the attacks. He had seen the value of human intuition and creativity, and now was the moment to use it fully. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. Zyra stepped closer, her hand hovering over a holographic map of the station. "We must turn their strength against them. Their tactics are predictable. They rely on coordination, precision, and assumption. You, human, are unpredictable. That is our advantage. We will use your mind as the key to our defense." Eli studied the map. The council's forces were concentrated along the main corridors and observation decks, expecting to find the Empress and her secrets in the open chambers. But Eli had seen patterns, weaknesses in the station's architecture, and flaws in the intruder's assumptions. He realized that he could guide Zyra and her drones to create traps and diversions, manipulating the attacker's expectations in real time. He moved swiftly, directing drones to strategic locations, setting energy fields in deceptive patterns, and creating holographic illusions that simulated reinforcements where there were none. Every decision relied on improvisation, human intuition, and the unpredictability that had saved them before. Zyra watched silently, her eyes widening as she witnessed the full scope of human ingenuity in action. The first wave of attackers arrived, confident and heavily armed. They advanced through the corridors, expecting to encounter minimal resistance. But Eli had anticipated their moves. The drones intercepted them, force fields activated in unexpected sequences, and holographic decoys drew them into isolated traps. Confusion spread among the attackers, their precise coordination disrupted by the unpredictable tactics of one human mind. Zyra moved beside him, her presence steadying and commanding. "You are remarkable, human," she said quietly. "Your species has the power to adapt, to improvise, and to survive where logic fails. Never underestimate the strength of unpredictability." Eli smiled grimly, though his heart pounded. "We have no choice but to improvise," he said, "and it seems humans are good at it." As the attackers struggled to navigate the maze of defenses, Eli spotted a critical weakness. The Council's forces had relied on a primary access node to coordinate their attacks, assuming it was secure. If he could disrupt that node, he could paralyze their operations, giving Zyra the chance to complete her secret integration project safely. He directed a drone to the node, its movements precise yet unpredictable, while simultaneously creating a diversion in the opposite corridor. The attackers rushed toward the decoy, unaware of the true threat. In a flash, the drone reached the node and delivered an electromagnetic pulse, shutting down the attackers' communications and disabling critical weapon systems. Chaos erupted among the intruders. Their formations collapsed, their plans unraveling before them. Eli adjusted his strategy on the fly, guiding the remaining drones to intercept, disorient, and contain the attackers. Human improvisation had once again turned the tide. Zyra stepped forward into the chamber, her robes shimmering with liquid light. "Now, human," she said, "we must complete what we began. Follow me and do exactly as I instruct. Your mind is the key to this final stage." Eli followed, heart racing. They entered the core of integration, the lattice of crystalline light that pulsed with energy. Zyra extended her hand, and Eli felt a surge of sensations, memories, thoughts, visions of Xylaran history, and flashes of human intuition. The integration process began, merging the understanding of two species into a shared consciousness. It was overwhelming. Eli felt the thoughts of an entire alien species flowing through him, yet his human mind adapted. He contributed patterns, improvisations, and insights that the Xylaran consciousness could not predict. The fusion was symbiotic, each side learning from the other, each complementing the other's strengths. The attackers tried to breach the chamber, but Eli's guidance and Zyra's power created a protective web of energy. The station itself seemed to respond, reinforcing barriers, activating drones, and amplifying their defenses. Every move relied on unpredictability, ingenuity, and the seamless cooperation of human and alien thought. Hours passed, though time felt fluid. Finally, the last intruder was neutralized, either trapped or forced into retreat. The station hummed with a calm energy, the pulse of the living walls steady and strong. Eli stepped back, exhausted but triumphant. Zyra regarded him, her expression unreadable at first, then softening. "Human," she said, her voice trembling slightly with emotion, "you have done what no Xylaran could alone. You have preserved our species, protected our secrets, and contributed to a new future. Your creativity, courage, and unpredictability were essential. You have proven that humans are not merely another species. You are extraordinary." Eli felt a surge of pride, yet he remained humble. "I only did what humans do best. We adapt, we improvise, we survive. And sometimes we surprise even ourselves." Zyra smiled, her robes shimmering brighter than ever. "Indeed, perhaps your species is exactly what my people need to survive, and perhaps together we can achieve more than either of us could alone." The integration completed, Eli felt a new clarity. The fusion of human intuition and Xylaran knowledge revealed possibilities he had never imagined. They could predict threats before they arose, optimize strategies for survival, and explore the cosmos with insights that neither species could achieve alone. Humans, underestimated and overlooked, had become catalysts for change on a galactic scale. Days later, as the station returned to normal operations, Eli reflected on what had occurred. He had seen the vast potential of human ingenuity, the unpredictable brilliance that set humanity apart. He had faced danger, navigated impossible challenges, and emerged not only alive but transformed. Humanity had proven its worth in a way that no alien could ignore. Zyra approached him one final time, her eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "Remember, human," she said softly, "what you have witnessed here cannot leave this chamber. But know this, your species has earned a place among the stars, and I will ensure that the legacy of your ingenuity is honored, even if the rest of the galaxy does not yet understand it." Eli nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility and the thrill of potential. He had glimpsed the future, and humanity's role within it was clear: unpredictable, creative, resilient, and essential. The galaxy was vast, full of danger and opportunity, but humans had proven they could thrive, adapt, and even shape the course of civilizations. As he stood on the observation deck, gazing at the swirling gas giant below, Eli felt a sense of purpose he had never known. The stars stretched endlessly before him, a canvas of possibility, and he understood that humanity's underestimated nature was its greatest strength. The ability to adapt, to improvise, and to persist against impossible odds was not merely survival. It was influence, power, and hope. And somewhere deep within the station, the Empress watched, aware that her partnership with a human had changed the course of her species, and perhaps the future of the galaxy itself. Humanity, once overlooked, had revealed its brilliance, and the cosmos would never be the same. For Eli and for all of humanity, the journey had only just begun.